Welcome to Travel Stories by Wity Travels. Hello to everyone listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We are your hosts. I'm Will.
And I'm Katy.
In today's episode, we're going to share our stories and behind the YouTube scenes of our trip to the Florida Panhandle. We visited Tallahassee to see FSU and FAMU, Carrabelle to see the world's smallest police station, Cape San Blas to see the Donna Kay abandoned ship, and a few other small beach towns. So in our last set of episodes, we were in Mexico, and we visited Playa del Carmen and Chichen Itza, one of the seven wonders of the world, and even Tulum. For this trip, we originally thought about going to St. Augustine, Florida, but instead decided to get more bang for our buck and visit the Florida Panhandle. Now, the Florida Panhandle is in the northwest part of the state, and Georgia is to the north of Tallahassee, but basically the rest of the Florida Panhandle is surrounded at the north and the west by Alabama. Tallahassee is actually landlocked, so it doesn't have access to the Gulf, but all of these other towns do. So there's a lot of different options along the Gulf of Mexico. Now, many people think that the state capital, Florida, is Miami, especially if you're from like a different state or a different country, because that's the major metropolitan area that has like all the TV shows and all the movies. Heck, that's even where LeBron decided to take his talents to. But, besides the, Miami Vice vibes and outfits, there's a lot of other things in Florida. And one of the places that we decided to go, because not a lot of people actually visit there, is this Florida Panhandle. And the largest city there is the capital, and that is Tallahassee. Now, when all of the 80-plus-year-olds who always seem to be the ones who win the Florida lottery win, and they want to go make an appointment and get all their lottery earnings, that's where they go, because that's also the headquarters of the Florida lottery. And I actually I lived in Tallahassee for 4 years when I was in college. So I went to Florida State University, and after graduating, my friends and I would meet up once a year and go to the football game and check out the campus, but that hasn't happened in several years, so a lot of this stuff has changed, and I haven't really been there in a long time. There's a lot of construction. It's much harder to get from point A to point Z for like a stranger or someone who hasn't been there in a long time. But what did you think about Florida State's campus?
Yeah, so I actually went to a local Bible college, and I lived at home, so I didn't live on campus. So just walking around a college campus and then like a huge university is completely different. Like my Bible college was super small. I think about 300 students. We knew everybody. Your campus and your school is the complete opposite. And so it was huge. It was massive. It wasn't just like one little like area. Like it felt like the whole city was like FSU, like everything FSU, like FSU flags on the outside of like storefronts. Like it was just all about the college. Definitely a college town. And then obviously a bunch of buildings, and I loved like the brick feel, and that was super cool. It reminded me of like when I've been to like Boston and that area up there. But bookstores everywhere, and just college kids kind of like walking around everywhere. Definitely a lot of walking as we walked around campus. A bunch of dormitories. Oh, and then the frat houses, like all this stuff like I've only seen in movies, because I never went to like
even like the kind of pin board. You're like, oh, I've never really seen that in real life.
Yeah, that pin board. Like I've seen it. Like I'm thinking, okay, like when I've watched movies and all the college kids like go to press a note on the pin board, like
right,
hey,
like a pull a number if you need like laundry or roommate. Yeah.
So that was cool. I'm like, wait, this actually exists. It's not just a thing in movies. So that was really cool. Yeah, it was definitely awesome. I know you had said there was a bunch of changes too, like as we're trying to, you're trying to show me different like buildings that you spend a lot of time in or whatever. You're like, wait, this building is here. This wasn't here back then. But it was cool. You did show me like where your house was and where you lived, and you were like literally across the street from the stadium.
Yeah, so I was right across from like the soccer field, and a very short walk to Doak. I mean, that's what we called it. The official name is like Doak S. Campbell Stadium, but we always kind of called it by, its nickname. Mm-hmm. And that stadium is one of the things that I don't feel changed all too much, especially even the area around that. It opened in like 1950 and it was named after FSU's first president. And then the field that they play on is named after Bobby Bowden, who was FSU's very, very long time coach from 1976 to 2009. He led the Seminoles to a national championship in '93 and a national championship in 1999. And then in front of it is something that is not too old, but it was built around the time that I was there still in 2003. And this is the Unconquered Student Statue. Now this is a huge statue. It stands about 31 feet tall and it's made out of bronze. And the students and fans of Florida State will recognize, Chief Osceola and his horse Renegade on top of it. But the people who funded it and kind of spearheaded this whole project for about 10 years said that it just broadly celebrates the human spirit and not tied to any individual characters. But come on, I mean, it's obviously Chief Osceola and Renegade.
You're really excited about that.
I was really excited about that. And even on like game days, I remember it was super cool because Chief Osceola is holding like this huge spear, and they would light it the night before, and they keep it up until the morning after the game. And it was especially cool, like at night, kind of see all that fire coming off. Super interesting. I don't know if they still do it. Hopefully they do. Looked really cool. So, and what else did you think about like the Doak football stadium area?
Yeah, so I definitely love football. It's probably the sport that I watch the most, and definitely huge. Like I've seen, other college stadiums a little bit, and they don't seem as big. But this one actually, like, just from the outside, like, I didn't even think it was a football stadium. I thought, like, it looks like a castle. Like, it's just all the same brick that's on the other buildings is, like, what the outside of the stadium is. So it was awesome. It was really cool. And even the angles that you got from the drone shot, like, looked so cool. But yeah, it was very impressive.
Yeah, definitely one of the coolest parts about this week's vlog is the drone footage, especially of Doak being able to rise up. Didn't try to fly over it or anything like that, but it looks really cool from the drone perspective. Mm-hmm. Another place that we visited in Tallahassee was FAMU, or Florida Agricultural Mechanical University. Randomly, I'll see a FAMU sign, I'll just go because of the rattlers, so that's pretty cool. So it's a public school, and it's actually the third largest historically black university by enrollment in the United States, and they're home of the Marching 100. And most people only see like a band like this in the movie Drumline, but it's really cool. Like they're great at their instruments and they're amazing dancers. I remember one homecoming, I was actually able to go to their homecoming and just see like this performance, and it's truly incredible.
And why is that important to you? Like, why is marching band so important to you?
Yeah, so I was definitely a big time band geek growing up. Played clarinet and then like saxophone for like 6 years. I was in marching band in high school, and one of the options I thought of was continuing on with band in college. I decided not to, but still had the love for marching band and Section X saxophone section that they called at Florida State, and it was totally amazing to see that. And they're actually pretty famous. They were at the inauguration of President Clinton and President Obama, so they're actually hopefully got more recognition from that, but big school for if you want to go and be a pharmacist, and an amazing campus there as well. Between Florida State and FAMU is this art district that you actually found for us. So
yeah, so as we were looking through things to check out in Tallahassee, I'm naturally drawn to artistic things and found an art area here in that city. So we went and checked it out. It was towards the end of the day, and there wasn't a lot going around. A lot of the shops were closed already, and maybe because we went during winter break, there wasn't many students around, but I'm sure during college like time of the year, there's a lot of people around there because it's definitely a really cool spot. So definitely local art everywhere, kind of painted on the walls. It's like most arts districts, like the one in Miami is like that, the one in LA is like that. This one's a lot smaller, but it's still there. And local artists, local art shops, little like thrift stores, a couple restaurants, and we ended up finding a bar to go hang out in and grab dinner. as the sun was setting, and then even that area was like bistro lights kind of strung across, like the fake grass on the floor. So it definitely gave me Wynwood vibes from Miami for sure. So
Yeah.
I loved it. Super cool.
Yeah. From Tallahassee, we went south to Edward Ball State Park in Wakulla Springs. Now, this is home of the world's largest and deepest freshwater springs. It also claims to have manatees and even sells like manatee keepsakes in the gift shop. Even though we walked around, didn't see any manatees. I don't know if you have to go on a boat or what, but that's okay. Did not see any manatees in real life. And the water stays around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, they say. And you can walk into the water, or you can kind of jump off of like this 10 to 15 foot platform that they built into the water. And when you're there, you can see the old school pictures of what it used to look like when it was just like old and just completely wooden. Now it has like more structure up, and I think it's actually made out of metal.
Safer.
It's probably a lot safer now. We decided not to jump in. We saved all the jumping into waters from our Mexican cenote video, but we decided to stay dry this time. But it does have that there. Another cool fact is that this is actually where they had mastodons, and I always thought of like these big woolly mammoths and being in all this snow, and like Florida, it doesn't even snow. So I always kind of forget about that. But they had mastodons, which are 3 times the size of elephants, which is pretty cool. And they had either the jaw or like the teeth on display there to kind of prove that that's what they have. And they also have like a 1930s Spanish style lodge where they have like the original furniture and elevators and painted ceiling and all that kind of good stuff. Yeah, so back in college, we definitely jumped off there a couple of times and swam around. They rope it off so that you can't swim out to the alleged manatees or the alligators, I guess, to kind of keep it as safe as possible. And there was nobody there, so we could have swam, but it was in the wintertime, so it was pretty cool. And the ranger, helped us out, gave us the discounted admission price of free because it was between shifts. So
Oh yeah, I remember that.
yeah, so we had a really good time in Wakulla Springs, but we didn't spend too much time. Just kind of walked around, looked for manatees, tried to avoid any sort of alligators, but there were none there. Enjoyed the freshly fallen leaves from the seasonal changes that we don't have back in South Florida. And so I think it was a good time, a good stop over in Wakulla Springs. From Wakulla Springs, we drove down the winding road that is 319 south to Carrabelle, Florida. The last 10 minutes of the drive is right along the Gulf of Mexico, and the city boasts about having no high-rises, and they even have like a promotional video that feels like it's set from the 1950s on their official website. It's hilarious. But having no high-rises is super nice, especially when you are driving along the Gulf. And being from South Florida, that's like completely alien to us because there's nothing but high-rise condos and high-rise hotels. You could be driving along the beach or along the ocean for like miles and miles and never actually see the water. So that is something to boast about. They also have the world's smallest police station. So in the early 1960s, Carrabelle's police phone was located in a call box that was bolted to a building. During that time, the city had problems with people making unauthorized long-distance calls, so they had to move it to another location. So the call box was moved to that other location, but those illegal calls still continued. They noticed that the police would get drenched while answering the phone calls when it was raining. So when the telephone company decided to replace its worn-out phone booth with a new one, the police phone moved into the old booth. So in 1963, this phone booth was moved to its current site, which is along U.S. Highway 98, so it's right off the main road. And the booth did change, and the officers kind of protect the officers from the elements, but some people still snuck in to make the long distance phone calls, and eventually the dial was removed from the phone, making it impossible for anyone to make phone calls. And today, unfortunately, it's a replica booth of the original one, and that's what's on display right now, which is probably good in case it gets vandalized or whatever. It's always good to have like a replica out there. So it's right off of US 98. And it was featured on television shows such as Ripley's Believe It or Not, The Today Show, and The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It was also in this movie Tate's Hell, which like Tate's Hell is like a beer, and it's also like a name of a park. So everything kind of ties into that area. But that film was produced at Florida State University, tying in the Panhandle. And we also ate lunch there. So what did you think about Carrabelle and our lunch experience?
Yeah, it was definitely a small little beach town and very quiet. The locals were just kind of like walking around, going to their little stores. But we did stop into a little
Yeah, like a diner kind of area.
It felt like a diner, yeah, especially when you walked in, but they had like on the outside like coffee, soup, like kind of telling you what they had in their diner. So we walked in and there's like knickknacks everywhere up on the walls. There's actually like they took a Scrabble board and like made words out of Scrabble. So that looked really cool. But we just got some, sandwiches and some coffee. We had to pay cash, like they didn't take credit cards. Super, super tiny town, I'm telling you. It was incredible how fast they got the food to us. Like this, before we even sat down, they basically gave us our sandwiches, which was awesome. And then the coffee, they had to brew fresh, so we got like a fresh batch of coffee. And we got a little carrot cake too. Mm-hmm. That was super good and fresh. So yeah, it was a good little spot for lunch.
Yeah. And then from there, so on this road trip, we wanted our last stop to be Panama City. We want that to be our final destination. So we could have went from Carrabelle back up 319 and then taking I-10 over, but we purposely decided to go along US 98 West to take a more scenic route. So we saw a lot of different small beach towns, right? So Carrabelle is one of them with the world's smallest police station and the diner that gives you food basically before you're done ordering it. So this whole area of Florida is called Florida's Forgotten Coast. And our favorite stop along the Forgotten Coast was like this really enchanting place. It was called Cape San Blas. So it's often forgotten, which makes sense. It's called the Forgotten Coast. But in 2002, Cape San Blas was named the best beach in America by Dr. Beach. I don't know who he was, but I respect his opinion. And it's located off of St. Joseph Peninsula, a small sliver of land. Out, and it's really out in the middle of like St. Joseph's Bay. So surprisingly, it's one of the least populated beaches in Florida. And like I said, it's forgotten, but it really shouldn't be. So hopefully a lot of people see this in our vlog and then they go and visit it. Maybe so it's not crowded with people, but it's definitely something that everyone should see that's in driving distance of Florida.
It does make it a little difficult though, because there's not like a parking lot to go to the beach, right? And so I think maybe that's why it's forgotten. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. There is no actual, parking lot or anything like that. I mean, what did you think about Cape San Blas?
Yeah, so first of all, like even trying to find where we were headed was kind of confusing. Like we know the beach is that way, but we don't know how to get to it, and so we just kept driving until we finally found a spot to pull over, kind of like near like big beach rocks like we've seen, and so we just pulled out and walked onto the beach, and it was really cool. Like there's again nobody there. Maybe I think in our whole time there we maybe saw 10 other people. So we were just walking to kind of search for something, and it felt like, I keep saying it feels like a Star Wars film. Like, you have like the big open kind of area and like just random like roots coming up from the ground and like stumps of trees, and it was just the sand was like super white, and the way the waters was hitting the sand was super cool. And then we even got to certain sections where I don't even know how to explain it, so you just have to go onto our social media or our vlog to see it. But like the way the water was like hitting the sand, and like I guess there was like some brown water. I don't know why it was brown, but like brown water kind of mixing in with the sand and the water, and it just looked really, really cool. Again, it's really hard to explain, so you're just gonna have to go check it out.
Yeah, it's like a mixture of like the brackish water that you would have at a canal slowly kind of pouring towards the salt water of the ocean. So the mixture there is amazing, and it's not, I don't know if we were trespassing, but I don't know. It's not the most public beach in the world. So there was trees that were down, or like all these kind of things that wouldn't be at a public beach, because they would kind of clean those things up. and make it more commercial instead of like the natural beach.
And there was seashells everywhere.
Tons of seashells, and like people even decorated like trees with the seashells.
Yeah, they took some seashells and like hung them onto the palm trees. We thought the seashells got washed up onto the palm trees, and then when we got closer, we pulled one off. We're like, oh, okay, but it still looked cool.
Yeah, and there was even like a 4 pillars where there was probably a building before. So I don't know what used to be there, but it has a lot of cool things, and it definitely, I mean, yeah, we didn't know when we parked, we didn't know if our car was going to get towed or ticketed, but it was worth it to see this awesome beach. And the special reason we went in the first place is because one of my coworkers posted on social media that, you know, they were going along the beach and they were horseback riding, which is awesome. That looks super fun. But then I saw something else there. And the thing that I saw was the Donna Kay shrimp boat. And I was like, we got to see this. So we didn't even see any of those pictures of what that beach looked like. So that was a nice added bonus. But the Donna Kay shrimp boat ran aground like at the tip of this. And it's a cape, right? So if you think about Cape Cod, it's a sliver of land coming out into the water there. And it came, this Donna Kay shrimp boat came ashore. And then after the Hurricane Michael in 2018, it was pushed even further on shore. So it's like completely on the land at this point. And it's not like a small boat, it's like this huge boat. So there's like 3 theories of how this Louisiana shrimp boat got onto the mainland. So either it pulled itself free from anchor, so it wasn't anchored enough, or the captain fell asleep at the wheel, or the ship was let go for an insurance claim. If there was hurt, well, we've been in New Orleans. Unfortunately, we know like all the damage and destruction hurricanes do, so it could have been let go for an insurance claim. But for whatever reason, it was let free from Louisiana. It ran aground on Cape San Blas, and then due to the hurricane water and wind, it's pushed completely on land. But what did you think about the Donna Kay and finally seeing it?
Yeah, it was super cool. Like, I think because we had to walk so long, we're like, are we gonna get to this? Is it even here? But we found it. We definitely found it. We had looked up on the Google Maps like where it was on the map, and so, you know, I'm seeing it on the map and we're like, we just gotta keep walking, it's there. And then we finally get to it and it's awesome, and the colors are really cool too, like the red and the white, so the red contrasting with the white behind it, and the beach, and the waters up there are kind of like greenish emerald, so like all the colors together looked really cool. And
like you said with the Google Maps, it's like you see Google Maps, all right, so it's a cape, it's a white beach, and you can see the trees and everything like that, but if you literally zoom in on Google Maps, just like if you look at your own house, you'll see your car, whatever, you literally just see a boat there.
Yeah. So that's how we knew, like, it's actually there. Well, you know, according to the maps.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a cool spot. Oh, and then all the drone footage that you got from the boat was super cool. So yeah, it was definitely a sight to see.
It's like a whole boat. It's not like just like a canoe or anything like that. No. And then when we flew the drone over, and you could see that in our vlog too. Like, yeah, I mean, it's a complete ship that's intact.
Yeah. So it was definitely a hidden gem, and super awesome that we were able to find it.
Yeah. Definitely worth all. And you know, when we're getting there, we had to like walk over like puddles of water.
Yeah.
And it was like an obstacle course to get there. I mean, I feel like we're always going on obstacle courses, but the final destination that we reach is really good.
Yeah. Then on the way back out, the sunset was gorgeous. So I thought it looked really cool on the way in, but then on the walk back out, the sun is setting and the oranges are hitting the trees. Like, oh, it was just gorgeous. Like, it is every photographer's dream, probably. Actually, we saw a photographer at one point taking some photos while we were trying to fly the drone. So yeah, it was super, super cool, and definitely go check it out for sure.
Yeah. Also on US 98 on the forgotten coast of Florida is Panama City. There we stayed at an Airbnb and wanted to do some cooking for dinner. I'll let you talk about our host in a minute, but he did recommend that we go and find this fish market. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of things in the market, and actually it didn't even have a sign out front. If we didn't put it into the GPS, we probably would have never found it, but it was like a basic layout. Think about a supermarket, the like fish department, like the basically where they have fish laid out, It was that.
It was just that section.
Yeah, there was maybe 10 or 15 different kinds of fish. There was
Mm-hmm.
some shrimp, and then there was like a few different dips. So there was a tuna dip that we got. There was a spicy one, which probably was a tuna dip with like jalapenos in it, and a shrimp dip, and maybe like one other ones. And we got fish. So we got a couple fillets of the bar jack, which I've had amberjack before from Tampa Bay, but I've never had a bar jack. Lemon to go with the fish, pack of crackers. Not even like, oh, here's like 4 or 5 different like saltines.
A box of crackers.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know how you
sleeve.
get you get the box of saltine crackers with 4 sleeves. Like no, they just sold you 1 sleeve, which is good for us because we didn't need much.
Yeah,
so.
and a lemon, but I thought it looked like an orange. I don't know.
It was a pretty big lemon.
It was a really big lemon, so you can get tons of fish situated with that. And yeah, like I said, we got the tuna dip. So we had a nice little meal, and outside of the Airbnb, we were upstairs, and on the deck there was a grill there, so we were able to grill up our fish as the sun was going down. It was like a gorgeous dinner.
Yeah.
It got really cold out there, as you know, North Florida in the winter, so we couldn't be out there for too long, but we're at least able to grill as the sun was going down, and that was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, our Airbnb host really helped us out by giving us that recommendation, and he also told us some more things.
Yeah, I love Chuck. Chuck was great. He was super awesome host for Airbnb. You know, Airbnbs are hit or miss. You don't know what kind of like host you're gonna get, but this guy was super helpful. He left kind of a whole little booklet of local things to go check out, local spots to go eat. He even told us, hey, when you get there, let me know. I'll show you around my little area, because he actually has maybe like 4 or 5 other units right there. And so it's kind of almost like a little like resort. You know, he's trying to make his own little resort. Super cute. Like, I think the whole thing is called the Hideaway. And then he has like different areas, and we stayed in the pelican nest, and so the inside decor had like pelican stuff around it. But he showed us around. He had like paddle boards, kayaks, which I wanted to try and go paddling even just one of the times, but it was just way too cold. But he has like bikes that you can go, you know, bike to the beach. He had like a little greenery house out there, and he's like, yeah, just go sit on out there, drink a glass of wine or a whole bottle of wine if you want. But yeah, he was super friendly. So if you need a spot to stay in Panama City, definitely check that out. Super cool. And we were able to, grill out on the deck, and it was gorgeous. And oh, you also said that, I did want to say this when you were talking about the signage for the market, like it didn't have signage, and we noticed a lot of the stores, like the local stores there, didn't have signage on the outside either. So
I guess if you're a local, you know where everything is. You don't really need a sign.
Yeah. So.
Then we went to Destin. Destin is known as the world's luckiest fishing village, and it's home of some of the best saltwater fishing in the United States, they say. It's located on a peninsula separating the Gulf of Mexico from the Chakawatchi Bay. And the peninsula was originally an island, but hurricanes and sea level changes gradually connected the island to the mainland. So that's pretty interesting. I've never heard of that happening before. And Destin is the pride of the Emerald Coast. And it's called the Emerald Coast because of the color of the water. And the emerald green water with the white sand beaches makes it absolutely gorgeous. And we also went to Henderson State Park, where we were technically allowed to fly. I mean, we always look at the app, and the drone will not take off. When I say fly the drone won't take off if it's not allowed. But as we were starting to fly it, security guard came along. Not as nice as the Wakulla security guard, but he came along and said that we couldn't fly it. But what happened there?
Yeah, so we went ahead and did what we were supposed to do, and we put the drone away. Although, like it said, we could fly, but there is like an Air Force or Air something.
Yeah, there's like an Air Force base by it, but it's not like literally part of the park you couldn't, and the other part you couldn't. Like the drone literally will not take off if you're not allowed to do it. It's not like an opinion or a gut choice on it. Like it's just, it will not fly.
Yeah, but that section of the park we should have been able to, but he told us to put it away, so we did. But nonetheless, we just walked over to the beach, checked it out, got some footage there. The sun was kind of starting to go down, so it was a nice golden hour. And the water is definitely like emerald, like they say. Like this water is green, it's beautiful. There's like a bunch of little birds kind of walking around on the beach. I even like picked up the sand, and it is so powdery and like dry snow maybe. That's maybe what it feels like. But it was definitely beautiful. And then on the other side of the parking lot is these 30-foot white sand dunes. They were massive and super cool. So because this is a local state park, there was like trails. There's a spot to go camping even. But we just hung out for a little bit and then kept it moving.
Yeah, so that was our time in Destin, and all in all, we had a great time in the Florida Panhandle. We got to see the Donna Kay shrimp boat on land, the world's smallest police station, and the sugar white sand of the world's luckiest fishing village. So we really want to thank you guys for listening to the end of this podcast. New episodes are out each week on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Keep up with our daily content on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or any of your preferred social media providers. This is Wity Travels. What could possibly be next?